Hey, what's up, everyone? So recently, I had this idea that Comet browser is able to do so many things on your behalf. Can it write ServiceNow reports or not? And I did not expect it to work, but I was actually quite surprised to see what happens. So on your screen, you see, or on my screen rather, we see the story table, right? We have all the stories. So what if we ask it, can you show me all the stories that are assigned to one show? So, what do you think will happen when you ask it this? And so you would expect that it just looking through the stories and telling you what the details are. But you know that there are more than what it sees on the page. So, can you apply a filter on the screen so I see the whole list? And let's see. So now what happens is when I ask it to apply the filter on the screen, it is actually going on the ServiceNow screen and it is saying that it applied the filter here. See, it says task type is equal to story and assigned to Manshuvi or cat the cat. I don't know why it did cat the cat. Maybe it was there previously, which it has now removed, and now it is sorting the stories. I think to see whether how many records are there and something like that. And you can actually read what it does here, which I find fascinating to go through and see what it is doing. And so what it did, it actually went in. For some reason, first it also had cat the cat. I don't know if I did that previously or it was already there, but it actually went ahead and applied the filter on the screen. So now you can imagine that this thing, I did not prompt it in any way to say that you can go here and do this, do that. I just learned the screen. Now, of course, credit to ServiceNow that it is a simple way to do these things. But the browser went in and found where it could apply the filter, and then it did that. So now can we add another filter saying that, can you just show me stories which are more than 2 points? Right? Maybe a little more complicated, not very complicated, but a little more complicated. And what it needs to do every time is it needs to understand from the screen where it can apply the filter, what it can do, and it will give you the right result. So here it has correctly identified that if you say greater than 2 there, it will give you the right result. So very interesting. I mean, I did not in any way prompt it to do that, and it just somehow figured out that you could do that and find the story. So you can see in the reasoning it is reading something like story, there is an error, which at least I did not see the error, so maybe it's something internal. But now it says task succeeded, filtered for stories, and everything which is more than 2 points. So I don't think the task succeeded, because you can see here there are stories with 2 points also. So I think what had happened is it just could not enter it, probably. Is that what happened? Yeah. So it went there, and it applied the filter correctly, but it was not able to enter it. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But I found it for the most part, the first impression was quite surprised that it actually works. And then I found it amusing the way it is reading through this and figuring out what to do. Now at this point, I would say that this is more of maybe gimmick is not a right word, but you cannot do much practical things with it yet. So this is one of those things where you are right at the edge of the model's capability or the browser's capability. But if you know ServiceNow, you can do this very easily. Even if you don't know it, you can probably figure out what to do and do it very easily. So nobody is going to come here and build a report like this. And it kind of fails when you do more complicated things. So if I were to say that show me all stories, I have dog. Show me all stories that have dog in it. It'll probably think for a long time. This is what has been happening. It thinks for a bit of a time. It correctly identifies that you are talking about the short description, but then it is not able to create the wildcard criteria. So today that does not work very well. And I have seen that with a bit of prompting, you can teach it that, hey, use the star and do this, do that, go and play with the URL. But if you were to just expect it to figure that out today, it is not able to do that. Now it is very, very likely that in a few months, this will be able to do that. And given everything else we have seen, but at least today, I did not see that it was able to figure out like how do you give a wildcard character. What was very impressive to me was at some point it was able to look at the URL. So it looked at the URL and said that the URL itself is changing when I add these filter criteria, and it identified that if I put the like parameter, it actually gives me all the stories that have dog in it. So right now it has not been able to do it. I'm not going to force it to do that, but just to give you an example of what works, what does not work. So this has been very interesting to me. I think at this point, this is not really a practical thing that anybody would do, but it's certainly something to keep in mind as to what can happen with these things, because we are right at the edge where in the next 2 to 3 months, this will absolutely be possible the way these things are advancing. So if you are building a product like this, I mean, I'm taking a ServiceNow screen, but there are many screens like this. You can imagine the possibility here and what the browser is able to do. And I must say that in playing with this, and this specific example was really the first time that this whole thing about agentic clicked in my mind. And see, the first phase was generative AI, and we were dazzled by things that AI was generating for us and all of that. But now it is doing things, and the browser is a very, very powerful way of doing things for you on your behalf. And building this report, slightly complicated, more complicated things like short description, it is able to do it, but it takes certain time. But you can imagine when it takes no time at all, then you are in a situation where you can just type things that you want. And much like text to SQL, it is text to ServiceNow reports where you can type in what you want in the report and it gets created. So stay tuned. I'm sure this capability is going to only improve. And this is the first time, 2 or 3 months ago, even this was not possible. So we have seen that breakthrough. And this is the space to watch, because once this happens, there is a lot of possibility here. A lot of end users will be able to create very complex reports with this and really unleash the power of the platform here. So thank you all for watching. And I'm always interested to hear what other use cases you have of the Comet browser that you've been able to explore. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day.